Now, we have a wonderful session in store for us, and I would like to not preempt anything. So, without further delay, I would like to call on our MC or Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Jonas from Makati Toastmasters Club. Toastmaster Jonas, take it away.
I remember the first meeting I had when I attended my club in Oman, the Oman Excel Toastmasters Club, last March 2017. And during the table topic session, my name was called. And I'm trembling. I thought I will die. But guess what? I'm still alive. I'm here. So today, I'm very excited to introduce to everyone wonderful session to our Toastmasters, to our guests. I believe that all of us have fair share of stories related to extemporaneous speaking or related to table topics. That's our term here in our Toastmaster session. And yeah, I know that you are all excited. I want to introduce first, especially to our guest, what is table topic session? Table topic session improves the confidence and impromptu speaking skills. This is a long-standing Toastmasters tradition intended to help members develop their ability to organize their thoughts quickly and respond to an impromptu question or topic. The table topic master call on respondents at random, and the speaker should express their thoughts clearly, lasting from 1 to 2 minutes. If you are here, if you can hear me now, a big congratulations because you are in for a fun-filled learning experience. Today, we will hear from our champions, the champions of the District 75 Table Topics Speech Contest. And of course, I know that you are all excited. The main objective of the program is actually to learn and grow, I believe. Learn from our champions the technique of winning and of becoming an extemporaneous speaker or a champion of the table topic speech contest to grow our self-confidence for us to overcome the biggest obstacle we had in table topic, which is fear. I'm 100% sure that all of us will learn today. Now, I'm excited to introduce to you our first speaker. I will not hold everyone waiting. I know that you are all excited. Can we hear from our second runner-up, our first speaker from Kamanava branch, TMZ of U-Belt, DTM 3rd Catayoc.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for coming, and I will be discussing several items about table topics. And okay, here you go. Okay, now my computer is locking up. Okay, we'll have
It's
to
all
share
right.
my screen.
Yeah, you can try. I know that your message will not lock up.
Good morning, third.
All right,
Okay.
so I will be discussing the introduction of table topics. And after this session, after my talk, we'll be expecting to understand what table topics is all about. We'll be able to identify the skills learned and developed whenever we join the table topic session, as well as knowing the practical applications of table topics. This will be a brief discussion as the techniques and the organizations will be discussed by the next speakers. Okay, to begin with, although our Toastmaster of the Day has already defined what table topics is all about, let me just give you a brief definition of it. Actually, table topics is a trademark term in Toastmasters, wherein it is a topic, topics are on various subjects that are discussed by a group of people around the table. Literally, this table topics is really short conversation amongst members whenever they're around the table. But then because of evolution and improvement of Toastmasters, this becomes part of the meeting wherein we are being asked to speak impromptu. In layman's term, actually, table topics is impromptu speaking. So we only use this term only in Toastmasters, but whenever we go outside of this organization, we say impromptu speaking. So whenever some people would ask us, what is table topics? Why did you win in table topics? what's in it for us? What do we know about table topics? We can just simply tell them table topics is impromptu speaking. And it's just a jargon in Toastmasters. Okay. Now, this is one of the things that we really dread in our meeting. Table topics, for many of us, we find it difficult. Why? Because there are really a lot of reasons why we find it so difficult. In fact, some people would rather become the timer or the counter or be the Toastmaster today. Some would even deliver their speeches instead of joining the table topics portion. It's because there are a lot of things that we really dread, and these are the reasons why we dread table topics. First is, to begin with, many people fear public speaking. In fact, many people would rather choose to be inside a coffin than to speak in front of a public, sharing their ideas or their knowledge about certain things. And it's more difficult because you speak off the cuff. You only have a limited write, rehearse, rewrite, and re-rehearse your speech before delivering it in front of the audience. Some of us fear that we may look or sound foolish when we're in front because, after all, we haven't rehearsed our piece. We also fear because we may not be knowledgeable enough about the topic, we may have limited knowledge about it, or that we could offend someone with our points or ideas whenever we talk in front. Some of us also fear that the topic could be so sensitive that we may get so emotional, and we don't want to be vulnerable in front of the audience. Second is, it is easier to write than we speak. Why? Because when we write, we think first before we write it. In fact, we can rewrite it and re-edit it. Whereas in impromptu speaking or in table topics, we speak first before we think. And that is more challenging because we only have a limited time to speak. So there are things that we could consider like logic or organization or the clarity of the message itself. That is why in 1 to 2 minutes, we have to make sure that those things are already present in our speech. Otherwise, we would fail as a speaker when we don't have a clear message to convey to our audience. All right, the skills that we can learn in table topics are quick thinking. Of course, you don't, although some people would say that you can think as long as you can, they would lose interest in you whenever you keep silent for a minute or more, and you would lose your credibility whenever you let them wait with your answer. Second is logic. Of course, your logical presentation right from the start to the beginning would be developed as you keep on practicing in table topics. Wit, for you to be able to answer it with humor or that will make it more memorable for you as a speaker. Spontaneity, this is where you, as you keep on practicing in Toastmasters and joining the table topics portion, you would be able to develop to speak more smoothly with minimal verbal crutches. And of course, confidence. This is where you would feel confident that no matter how you think that your answer is totally out of the way from the topic being given, you still feel confident that you'll be able to touch somebody's hearts or make them laugh with your humor, or at least be informative enough whenever you speak in front. Okay, so this is where the applications of table topics comes in. Many of us think that we need to join table topics in order for us to win in the contest. Well, that is really a cherry on top of the ice cream. Table topics has a lot of applications or has a lot of benefits for us That is why it is incorporated in our Toastmasters meeting. To begin with, Toastmasters is an organization for communication and leadership. So this is where we could hone our communication skills because we can speak our mind. This is also where we can develop our leadership skills because we can convey our message and persuade them with whatever we want them to do at the end of our speech. One of the practical applications of table topics is during the interview, whether job interview or interview on TV or radio. This is very much important because after all, if we will be able to convey our message clearly and logically, then people would be able to listen to us more, and that our message would be clear enough for them. This is also important because during group or company presentations, not 100% of our presentations is being rehearsed or prepared. Most of them are also impromptu. For example, if there are some technical glitches or if there are some questions that come along the way during the presentations, then of course those are not prepared. So table topics is really important. Third is during conversations, either small talks with strangers or learning to pick up girls or boys in a certain place, or even with friends. Whenever you are spontaneous and logical enough, then people would listen to you and you will be remembered with the message that you convey to them. Beauty pageants. Now, I have I was able to be part of a training team for a beauty pageant in our place in Butuan City. And this is really very important because not all beauty pageants have their questions given to them prior to the contest itself. Nowadays, it's not only about beauty, it's also about you being able to speak your mind. So table topics for aspiring beauty queens here, table topics is really important for you. Hosting. Now, as a host, you don't, of course, you have a script with you, but there are some changes along the way that you're not really prepared to do. So if you are spontaneous enough, then hosting could be a walk in the park for you. Of course, in public speaking, there are certain times when you would have to pinch it with someone in in an event. So sometimes your boss will just tell you to um, give them a speech about this because the theme is this. So this is where your practice and table topics would come in. And that is why I really urge you to join the table topics portions in every meeting that you attend to. In that way, you'll be more spontaneous, you'll be more logical, and you'll be more organized when you speak in front of the audience. And I will be ending my talk here by quoting Darren LaCroix, the 2001 world champion for public speaking, that we join Toastmasters not to be the best in Toastmasters, but to be the best outside of this organization. Again, you may join the table topics contest and be the winner, but the really key takeaway of this portion during the meeting is to be a better and greater speaker outside of this organization. Now back to you.
And wow, that's powerful. I love that. I know that our guests and our Toastmasters today, they are learning a lot of things. And I'm also learning many things. It start from the basics of impromptu speech and of course the skills that we can get from table topic or from the extemporaneous speech. And of course the practical application. I just love it. A lot of us actually in our organization, we are being surprised by we need to present something or we need to speak. Or as for me, I'm an aspiring motivational speaker, and most of the time I'm being asked or tasked to speak without preparation. So table topic is really important. Thank you so much, DTM Third, for presenting a short but very concise, and I know that everyone learned from it. Announcement to everyone: if you have questions, feel free to write, and later you can ask. Actually, we have our panel moderator. You can just write it, and later our three speakers would love to answer all your questions. And of course, if that's already magnitude 5, let's move forward. Another one that I want to present, our second speaker. I know that you are all ready. We have Julius Cruz, ALB CC EC2 from Ampleon Nexperia TMZ. I want to introduce him as passionate in pursuing a purpose-driven life while being a husband to a beautiful wife, father to a vibrant son, and this is powerful, the last part, depression survivor and overcomer. I want to welcome our second speaker, the first runner-up of the 2020 District 75 Table Topics Speech Contest, Julius Cruz. Toastmaster Julius Cruz. Now your time
Thank you
to
very
shine.
much, Toastmaster Jonas, and a beautiful, beautiful morning to everyone, filled with much learning and positive camaraderie. Before I proceed, can you see a thumbs up if I have a good audio? Can you see a thumbs up, please, to signify that I have a good audio? All right, that's great. One of the popular quotes goes this way: experience is the best teacher. How many of you believe or agree with this quote? Experience is the best teacher. Can you please type Y in the chat box if you agree with this quote, that indeed experience is the best teacher? Can I please see your responses in the chat box? Okay, I see some Y, letter Y. Letter Y, you can also type WHY. Yes or no? Interesting. Yes. Why? WHY with a question mark. That's interesting. Indeed, a good number of us believe that experience is the best teacher. But the great leadership guru, John C. Maxwell, would even take it to the next higher level. John Maxwell would say, it is not experience which is the best teacher. Rather, it is evaluated experience which will make the experience itself the best teacher. Because experience alone, without evaluating it, will not allow you to extract the insights and the learnings from that experience and help you towards a better life in the future. So it is coming from that I would like to invite you to journey with me in the next 15 minutes for us to learn and grow together as I share with you the tips and tricks in delivering a powerful table topics piece. So I will share my screen. All right, so this time, can I please see a thumbs up from you? If you can see my screen, very good. Thank you very much, Tia Misael. Okay. Reflect, connect, transform. This is the key to winning table topics contest from my experience. But more than that, more than the winning, it is about adding value to other people through uplifting and empowering messages. Coming from this, I would like to walk us through the following contents. First, I would like to start with some introduction, the story of blank. Perhaps you may be wondering why blank, because it is for you to complete the title of the story. Second, the power of transformational impromptu speech. Third, the process, LTS. Listen, think, speak. Listen, what is the seed? Think, how can I best plant the seed? And finally, speak, grow the seed. And lastly, some more tips as a way of concluding, and we will circle back to the story as a way of completing the title with relevance to our topic for today. All right, So for those of you who were able to attend the learning session on finding your why in and through Toastmasters, I believe you already know this story. So I would like to request you to please just hold your horses and allow those who are not yet familiar with the story to be thrilled in answering the question towards the end. For the rest, what I will do is I will verbalize aloud the story, and please read with me quietly from your end, as together we will explore the beauty and the power of this story. Here goes. 3 horsemen were riding down a long, dusty, dark, rough road for several hours now, on their way back to their kingdom. Out of the darkness, a booming voice came out saying, "Stop! It is I, the guardian of the road. Dismount from your horses and pick up pebbles." Of course, the horsemen were terrified and mystified, but they halted. They dismounted from their horses and picked up pebbles, each to his own liking, and placed the pebbles gathered in their pockets. Then the voice continued, "Very well. Tomorrow, you will be both glad and sorry." Puzzled, the horsemen continued with their journey. Since it was fast approaching nighttime, they then decided to set camp on a nearby forested area and immediately dozed off because they were very tired. So they did not have the chance to watch Provinciano anymore because they were very tired and they dozed off. Early the next morning, upon waking up, they immediately reached for their pockets to check the pebbles. Upon grasping these, then they remembered what the voice told them, that the next day they will be both glad and sorry. Question: why will they be glad? Can I hear some answers? Please unmute yourself and shout aloud your answer on why will they be glad. From anyone?
We don't have pebbles to pick.
Actually, they were able to pick some pebbles, but you are warming up. You're getting closer. Any more answers? Why will they be glad?
The pebbles are valuable.
The pebbles are valuable. Yes, you are warming up. You're nearing to the correct answer. Any more answers?
The pebbles turn to gold.
Exactly. They will be glad because the pebbles that they got became diamonds, rubies, and pearls. Now, the next golden question. Why will they be sorry? Any answers, please? Just unmute yourself and shout aloud your answer.
Have to
Because
pick more.
some get only few.
Exactly. Toastmasters is filled with intelligent people. They will be sorry because they have not taken more. And perhaps you are wondering, so coming from this, what is now a good title for this story? This is actually called the story of education. And every pebble represents every learning opportunity, such as the one we're having right now. And the more learning opportunities we grab, sooner or later, these pebbles will become precious stones in our lives and will truly add value to our lives and to other people. But wait, there's more. In relation to our current topic, this story actually packs a punch. But I will first hold my horse and circle back to the story towards the end of our learning session. Now, let me first go to the power of a transformational impromptu speech, and a speech for that matter. First, every message can sow a seed that can grow to inform, inspire, or empower the listeners. An impromptu speech can convey a message that not only informs, inspires, or empowers. An impromptu speech can actually convey a message that transforms the recipient in varying degrees. And the degree of transformation depends on the delivery of the message. And when I say delivery, I have this acronym of LTS. So what is LTS? LTS represents the three key components of impromptu speaking. We have listen. The question here is, what is the seed that you would want to plant to the listeners? Think, how can I best plant that seed? Speak, how can I grow the seed inside the hearts and minds of the listeners? LTS, listen, think, speak. First, listen. There's one quote which I love very much, and it goes this way. Most of the problems in this world arise because we listen with the intent to reply and not with the intent to understand. For indeed, it happens to all of us. Sometimes we just listen because we are ready preparing our answers in our minds, an answer that you'd want to give to the speaker. But in table topics, listening is very crucial. The requirement in table topics, I would say, coming from my experience, is that the Toastmaster should listen emphatically by losing himself and making the talking point or the question the only thing that exists in the world. So that in that way, we can listen to fully imbibe the talking point, to fully imbibe the question. First step, listen. And listen emphatically. Next step, think. After listening, the next question is, how can I best plant the seed? How can I best sow the seed? It is said that the mind was designed to think through patterns. Thus, during this stage of thinking, quickly dissect the talking point, which is the seed or the question, across your known and preferred patterns that can best explain your point. Now, as early at this point in time, I would want to say, using patterns is not a hard rule. But if you are starting, it can be a good starting point to have a preferred pattern. And I will quickly refresh us on the next slide on these common patterns. And after quickly dissecting the talking point across your known preferred patterns that can best explain your point, here comes the third punch. Quickly recall a relevant life story. Reflect. What event in your life best reinforces the talking point or best answers the question? I mentioned here reflect and another R, repository, because another tip here that I would want to give is it's always helpful to have a repository of your stories. Maybe you do journals. Maybe you have an Excel sheet where you write the significant events in your life for the past so and so years. I would really recommend that we take time to have a journal, a repository of our own stories. This is also a common suggested point coming from the speech champions through the Division K sponsored Learning at Home series. Most of them recommended having a journal or a repository of stories of your life. We all know this. I will not go into the details, but for the non-Toastmasters who are attending our learning session, we have some speech patterns that we can use as a starting point in order to develop our message. We have the PREP, the PREP, position, reason, example, position. We have the story, message, gain. We have the compare and contrast. We have the position, reason, example, message, or the PREM. We have the past, present, future, attention, interest, desire, action, and simply speak spontaneously, straight from the heart. My favorite here is the PREP, position, reason, example, position. Next, speak. First step, listen, know the seed. Second step, think, sow the seed. Third step, speak, grow the seed in the hearts and minds of your listeners. Start by hooking your audience. How do you hook your audience? You hook your audience by stating your point or answering the question directly. Do not beat around the bush, because If you do so, the audience will lose attention and interest. Leverage on your story, your personal story, to support your point, and end with a thought or a call to action, something for the audience to think about or something for the audience to do, to apply in their lives, to add value to their lives. So listen, think, speak. LTS. Now, you can see here, there's this icon of a stethoscope just above a plant which has grown. I have included this because another practical tip when delivering your table topic speech is that you must be constantly diagnosing, number one, yourself, if what you are saying is still in line with the talking point. And number two, you must be constantly diagnosing the audience, if they are still focused on you, indicating that you are hooking their interest as you deliver your piece. Listen, think, speak. More on LTS. Listen, empty your mind, and focus solely on the talking point. Forget about your problems, forget about the things to do at work, forget about the Korean novella. Listen and focus on the power of one, the power of the talking point. More on think. In my case, I find it very helpful to take my time, maximum of 10 seconds, because this allows my 5 senses to settle down, relax, and let my entire being be marinated by the talking point or the question. And this second point I learned from T.M. Nomel Gilongos: grab the first sensible thought and story that enters your mind. Because of the time limit of 2 minutes, then you would have to think fast and act fast. Third, more on speak. Verbalize aloud the talking point before delivering your piece. I remember during the district championship in 2019 in Cebu, the talking point was a quote with 2 parts. Looking back, post-mortem, what I think I failed to do was that I was only able to expound the first part of the quote, but I was not able to expound the second part of the quote. Good thing is, the blessing behind, I still won first runner-up in 2019 for the Table Topics contest. But what I learned is that if I verbalize again aloud the talking point, it allows for the talking point or the question to fully permeate my entire being. Therefore, I am able to capture the entire talking point and not lose out any part. If you can recall, in the criteria for Table Topics contest, 50% roughly is about content. Content is king, as they say. That is why it's important to really capture the entire talking point or question. And finally, of course, the basics for speak, the gestures, the eye contact, the vocals, these things must be in place. For every impromptu speech, every table topic speech is a mini speech in itself. Key point. I said earlier that it's important to reflect and have a story to be able to reinforce your discussion, to be able to reinforce your stand. Some people have asked me, when do you start preparing for a table topics contest? My answer, start preparing today. Today and every day. The key here is to have a daily reflection, because daily reflection allows us to be able to extract the key insight for every experience in our lives. And in the future, these key insights will serve as reinforcements to our piece whenever we join contests or whenever we deliver impromptu speech. I'm about to end, and I would like to circle back on the story. Why were the 3 horsemen glad? Because the pebbles that they got became diamonds, rubies, and pearls. Why will they be sorry? We said it is because they have not taken more. We said that this is the story of education, but more importantly, in relation to our topic today, this is the story of the power of daily reflection. Every experience, when evaluated, becomes a key insight, which will help you, which will help me in reinforcing our impromptu speech in reinforcing our points. As a way of conclusion, every impromptu speech is an opportunity to know, sow, and grow a transformational seed. The impact of the process, the LTS, listen, think, speak, is best determined by how you maximize the LTS process. It is when your LTS allows you to know, sow, and grow the seed in the hearts of your listeners that you are able to connect. And when you connect, you transform the listener. And when you transform the listener, then you can say that you are at the top of your game. Let me share this quote on transformational message. The only way for the mess in this world to become a transformational message is for the messenger to be the life-giving message himself. And with that, I would like to acknowledge my table topics mentors, DTM Brian and Cabo and DTM Nomel Gilongos. I learned a lot from them, and where I am now is a byproduct of their mentoring. And I would love to connect with you. So you can simply connect with me through Messenger, Facebook page, and LinkedIn with this email. And hopefully in the future, I can share with you my web page from the John Maxwell team. With that, thank you very much for your valuable time. And I enjoyed our journey together in the past 15 minutes. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And we literally learned a lot. Can we give a round of applause to our first and second speaker? Can I see a show of hands? Please show your love. It's powerful. It's amazing. And TM Julius, here's what I learned personally. I also use what you use as LTS. First is learn. The story alone about embracing education, non-stop learning. That's powerful. L for learn. T is for techniques. We'll learn powerful techniques from you that we can use in our speeches in the near future, how to organize our thoughts. And of course, number 3, LTS, S for share. You said a while ago, sharing a powerful and uplifting message. I just love that. Thank you so much for sharing your time. I know that a lot are really enjoying, a lot of you right now, learning so many things. And I will move forward. Okay, just a reminder, please write your questions and then just send it to our panel moderator. Our speakers will be answering your questions later. So now, our champion. I'm excited to introduce our third speaker is the champion of the District 75 2020 Table Topics Speech Contest, 30 years in Toastmasters International. I want to welcome with excitement, please, let's show our love and support to our third speaker, DTM Elisa Tay, Davao Pag-asa Toastmasters Club, and Urian Toastmaster Club. It's your time to shine.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. It's great to be here. I'm about to talk about tips and tricks, speak instinctively, and how the gears will grind. And I guess my part now would be a reinforcement of what Third and Julius have shared with you earlier. We cannot go far from the different sharing that we've had already from the first 2 speakers because we are on the same boat. We are on the same level. So first trick that I would like to share with you, or first tip that I would like to share with you, is being Zen. Meaning we have to relax. We have to make sure that our mind is calm. So let me take you through an exercise. So breathe deeply and exhale through your mouth slowly. You will feel, if we do it several times, we feel the tension going and out and leaving our body. Don't do this. That is not breathing. That's not going to be relaxing. That is hyperventilating, and you might faint before you are able to answer the question. So breathe deeply. relax, you might say meditate. But some would love to do music. So we have earpods on. Some would like to dance around. Some would like to sing. Some would like to pray.
You are
When I
my dancing
first,
queen.
when
You're
I
my
first,
sweet only
so somebody's
seventeen.
joining me. That's an example of that's an example of trying to relax. So when I first joined the table topics contest, this is what I did. It was not a prayer, it was not a song, but I went like this. Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled pepper, a peck of pickled pepper, Peter Piper pick. If Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled pepper, where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper pick? So it went on and on and on. It gave me a sense of relaxation and getting me ready for my turn on stage. And you might ask, how do I do this during meetings? I'm not going to compete. If we're not going to compete, if we do it in our meetings, it's still the same. We still relax. We still breathe deeply and exhale slowly. So why do we need this time right before we are cold? Because when we are calm, that's when the clarity of our mind is at its most highest, at its best. So when our minds is clear, then we can think. Then we allow an idea, a story, an anecdote, a poem to come in. So we need that moment of thinking. Then another important tip is to listen. Julius shared with you already the importance of listening. All of us can hear, but are we listening? At one time, I remembered I told my staff to go pick up something in the room. But before I could even say what she is supposed to get, she was off running. And after a few minutes, she came back and said, I cannot find what you asked me to pick up. I said, of course, because you went off already before I finished my sentence. So it happens during table topic session. Maybe at the first few words, we are now starting to formulate our reaction. But wait, listen and understand. What should we be talking about? What should be our reaction? How can we respond to this? And before we can do all these things, we have to listen. Listen carefully. Now, after you listen, what would be the next tip? You might wonder what all these phases are. When we listen to a question or a quotation in table topics, there will be so many emotions. We agree with the quotation, we disagree with the quotation, we love the quotation, we hate the topic. So many emotions. And that usually is our gut feel, our first instinct to that quotation. And I usually run with that. That's why during the table topics contest, the first thing that popped into my mind was vegetables. So I went with it. Even if after I ended my speech and sat down, I wanted to raise my hand and say, can I give it another go? But that was my first instinct and I went with it and I ran with that story. So what is your first instinct? What is your gut feel on the topic and work around that? Most often, most of the time, you will have a story behind it because you have a reaction to it. So you will find a story behind it. One time I asked a table topic session and I talked about roasted duck. And I called somebody and he said, I hate duck. I don't want to eat duck. Because that was a very strong reaction to it. And then in his reaction, he developed his speech because he had a pet duck that died. And from there, he was traumatized. So what is our first reaction? Good, bad, doesn't matter. It's a reaction that came from deep within us. And next will be to organize our speech. Even if it's 1 to 2 minutes, it is still a mini speech. The problem with table topics actually, or the issue is not that we don't have anything to say. Most of the times we say, I don't have anything to say, so I don't like to compete in table topics, or I do not like to participate in table topics during meetings because I have nothing to say. The issue is not that we have nothing to say. The issue is narrowing it down to one singular idea. It's double, one idea or a singular idea. And then from there, we ask the whys. Like one time somebody asked, what is your favorite ice cream? I said, oh, do you love ice cream? I said, no, I hate vanilla ice cream. And then I went closer. Why do I hate vanilla ice cream? So from there, you can narrow down these things. And I love to use stories. I love to use stories. A lot of people might say, but she is 59 plus 1, so she will have more stories to tell. But stories does not have to be something dramatic. Stories could be something so simple like, I had an ice cream cone and the ice cream fell off. Or it could be simple that I lost my 25 cents on my way to buy a candy. And it is from there where we pick up our lessons. Stories are used to hook in the audience, and stories are the basis of the structure from which we develop our speech. So we have to use, I love using stories. It's not mandatory, but that's how I am most comfortable with. That is the point wherein I usually wrap my reactions around. And this story should come right at the start. I often give my story at the opening statement. During the competition, I said I started planting vegetables. So it came right at the start because we need it as a hook to get the attention. And any conflict or anything that happened comes better at the introduction, at most. And then I say, I give my greetings like good afternoon, good morning, and then from there, develop the story. So use the stories, use it to hook people in, and then develop and wrap your speech around that story. Next, take it easy. You might say, why take it easy? The only time we can take it easy actually is we are ready for a table topic session. But how do we become ready for a table topic session? It's when we have been practicing it all throughout our lives. We have experiences, we have stories, we have frustrations, and all this makes us the total being. And it is time during this table topic session that we bring it out, that we open up and we share our stories. So we keep on reacting, we keep on volunteering for table topic session. If we come across a quotation or a line or a story that we have something to share, volunteer. Sometimes it's easier to volunteer for a table topic session because we are sure that we can react to that statement, quotation, or story rather than be called for something that is totally out of your understanding. During the last contest, I was so pressured. I was so pressured joining the speech contest that I was afraid that I will come across something or a quotation that I will not be able to answer, that nothing will pop out. So what I did, I made sure I had an opening line for when I could not answer the quotation. And it was like this, I'm stump, stump, stump. How many times in our lives have we been through a crossroads and we cannot come up with an answer? So I was ready. And it allowed me to relax. And it allowed me to calm down enough when I was called to answer. So taking it easy means I have prepared. I am ready. Have you ever heard of that line? You brush your hair until it looks windswept. So that's how it is in speech. We have to keep on practicing. We have to keep on reacting. We have to keep on delivering. And we take this out of Toastmasters and share it and use it when we go out in the world. So we talk about Zen, relax, calm your minds, clear your minds, and wait for that idea to pop up. We talk about listening, because if we don't listen, we cannot react. We cannot come up with the correct response. We have seen this happen so many times in table topic session during club meetings, wherein the answer is totally off the quotation or the question. Gut feel. What is your gut feel? What is your instinct towards that question? Organize your speech. Find a single idea. Talk about it. Get several points, 2 or 3. Remember, it's 1 to 2 minutes. You're not going to be able to expound on each point. Practice. Practice, 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 because that is the only way we can develop the confidence to react. When we go out into this world and come across a situation wherein we have to share our thoughts, when we are called suddenly to react to a situation, we will be ready because we have practiced. Fellow Toastmasters, I hope this helps, and I look forward to more people volunteering for table topic session. It is not just for the contest, it is for our improvement as a speaker and as a leader. Good morning. Back to our Toastmaster of the day.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for that. Can we give a round of applause to our speaker? I know that you are all blessed. And of course, I want to share my biggest takeaway. Is it all right? By using what I learned from DTM Elisa. Of course, you love stories, right? I will use stories. I will share my takeaway using a story, very short story. My ex-girlfriend broke up with me. We've been together for 7 years with the ground that I don't know how to listen. And thank you so much for teaching me. We don't, a lot of us, okay, we can hear, but we don't know how to listen. But I have this instinct and gut feel that there are bigger reasons. And yeah, she is in love with another man. And she told me that they are getting married. And after that, I organized my thoughts and I responded, go on, the cold never bothered me anyway. And then, of course, I pick up the following lessons. First, I pick up the lessons. Now I move forward. And of course, definitely, I take it easy. I took everything easy. What a powerful presentation. Can we give another round of applause to our 3 speakers? I'm just so amazed, learning a lot of things this morning. And I think we will move forward. Most of our guests and our Toastmasters, they are also excited to ask from our speakers to learn more. This is our time to clarify or to ask something. I want to welcome our panel moderator for our question and answer session, Jara Andrion from Nielsen Philippines TMC. Please
Yes,
drop
thank
all
you.
your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Jonas, and thank you everyone for coming to this session. Every day is a non-stop series of impromptu speaking engagements, from phone calls, business meetings, even casual chats over lunches and dinner with friends or colleagues, even on this new normal of video conferencing. And how we handle these situations and conversations matter. Learning from our speakers today, sharing their ideas and knowledge on table topics is a very good opportunity for all of us today. And as quoted by Toastmaster Third, we join Toastmasters not to be the best, but to be a greater speaker outside of the organization. Moving forward, this is an important topic that is affecting many of us, so we are honored to have this panel so that our speakers can share what they know, answer our questions about our topic for today, And third, give all of us some tools or talking points to share and apply. And as a panel moderator, I'll be guiding everyone through this process. We have a short period of time, so let's get right into it with our first question for the speakers. Let's start with the first question. This is intended for all our speakers. We have a question from TM Hazel Nespral. How do you prepare for the table topics contest? May we start with distinguished Toastmaster Elisa Tay. How do you prepare for a table topics contest?
I guess the only way we can prepare is to really react to anything. If we read, if we come across a quotation, react. If we see a story, react. If we watch the news, practice reacting, because it's the organizational skills that will come into play also. The story part, the choosing of a story or a point would be a little bit easier, but organizing a mini speech in such a short time will really challenge us. So the only way we can do that is to practice. Reacting. I remembered when I went for a master's class in Manila, and so I missed so many months of Toastmasters meeting before the speech contest where I joined before the table topics. And I was so rusty that I had a hard time organizing my thoughts. So the only way we can prepare really for a speech contest is to react to everything that comes our way. No, it's difficult to come up with a structured practice session because then it will be limited to a few quotations. But we want it, as what Toastmaster Julius shared, to be something that is on a daily activity for us, because then we develop a mindset and then we start banking our stories that we have come across, that stories that have transpired in our lives, and make sure that we use it when we get to that point. Back to you, President Jara.
Thank you so much, TM Elisa. That's very helpful. We react, and we practice. May we move on to our next speaker with the same question? Can we have your answer for that question? How do you prepare for the table topics contest? TM third.
I don't prepare, no kidding. Same with Elisa. I just have to react, and I have to really read more because I'm not the type who really reads a lot. So I get a lot of knowledge and wisdom from books or even from short articles. And even with the play of words that the writers use, I get to be familiarized with them and try to see if some of their styles would also apply to mine. And of course, they say that practice makes perfect, but practice without evaluation is really futile. So you have to practice with someone you trust as a mentor. In that way, he or she could provide sound evaluations and feedback for you. Because again, feedback is the breakfast or even the dinner of champions. So you really have to make sure that there is someone valuable who can provide honest feedback for you. In that way, you will grow and improve as a speaker and eventually become a champion.
Got it. Thank you so much, TM third. How about you, TM Julius? How do you prepare for a table topics contest?
Yes, Ms. Panel Moderator, I would like to use the title of my presentation earlier to answer the question. Reflect, connect, transform. So you prepare for the table topics contest starting today, because every day of your life is an opportunity to imbibe experiences, and not just imbibe these experiences, but evaluate these experiences. Because as mentioned earlier, it is from evaluated experiences that we are able to extract key valuable insights, which in the future we can use to expound our talking points or in answering questions. So what I do specifically is that every day, actually, I listen to, there's a minute with Maxwell, where John Maxwell expounds on a certain word, number one. I am a fan of Bo Sanchez, so I always listen to Full Tank every day, where he shares wisdom coming from his own experience. And with these experiences, I try my best to join every table topics portion of our club meetings. In that way, I will have a platform to be evaluated, and I will have a bouncing wall through my fellow Toastmasters who will give me feedback on the way that I delivered my table topics piece. So in a nutshell, practice preparation for table topics starts today. And it will be of great value if your experience today ends up being evaluated before you sleep at night. Then in the future, these pebbles will become precious stones when you are delivering your table topics piece or answering the table topics question. Back to you, Ms. Panel Moderator.
Yes. Thank you so much, Toastmasters. Thank you, speakers, for answering that question. We practice and have it evaluated, and we start today. On to the next question from this was anonymously asked. This is a question for Toastmaster Third. If there is a unique tip that you think you were given during your preparation that helped you get to where you are, what is it? What is this unique tip? Thank you.
Oh, unique tip. I really don't know because I don't know what the other contestants mentors gave them. But I think for me, something that is really memorable is to to be different with your answer, because I have heard this from other mentors before that in even in real life, the key there is not really to be the best, but to be different. So when you give an answer in a contest, what you could be remembered because of your answer, and that is because you are totally different from the rest. So if everyone will be talking about Toastmasters and then you will talk about your personal life, then people will remember you because of your answers. So be different, not just be the best, but be different. Back to you, Tara.
Yes. We have to be different and not just to be the best, but different. Thank you so much for that answer, TM Third. On to the next question in relation with that. When given the topic during the contest, what exactly went through your head? Again, this question is for all our speakers. Can we start with DTM Elisa? When given the topic during the contest, what exactly went through your head?
Most of my reactions during the practice session revolve around the COVID season, the COVID thing. And when the question was asked, the first thing that really popped into my mind was the vegetables that I was planting, and that even if we go for 2 or 3 more months with this quarantine, I am sure that I will have food on the table in the next few months, whether it is still there or it's not. There will be vegetables for our dinner table. So that was the thought that came into my mind when I read that line. And I could not move away from it. I was trying to come up with something more, maybe head level or more idealistic, but I could not. So I had to stick with that thought of planting vegetables. And from there, that's where I work my story and my message, and then the gain that I got from that. That's where where my entire speech revolved, the planting of the vegetables. So it's something that just pops up. As I said earlier, it's the gut feel. And the first thing that comes into my mind, that's I usually run with it.
Okay, thank you so much for that, TM Elisa. May we have TM Julius to go next to answer the question. When given the topic during the contest, what exactly went through your head?
I would like to answer that question through the analogy I gave through my presentation. It is know the seed, sow the seed, and grow the seed. So the first thing that enters my mind is, what is the seed? What is the talking point? And then I listen, try my best to listen attentively. The second thing that enters my mind is, how can I best sow this seed, considering the talking point and considering the audience? And of course, the last question is, as I deliver, how can I best grow the seed in the hearts and minds of the listeners? Maybe a concrete example, in the recent Table Topics contest, the quote was from Peter Drucker. The only way to predict your future is to create it. And I was thinking, okay, so it's definitely, you cannot predict our future, but we can create it in a way, but more so, we can create it now. So with that thought process, I realized that the seed is having a bright future. That is knowing the seed. The sowing the seed is to connect the future with the today, and growing the seed is to grow my talking point through the example, through the story I gave, which is the journey of our Amply and Experienced Toastmasters Club, from a simply existing club towards a President Distinguished Club. So there was a seed with the presence of the club, and then there was a sowing and there was a growing of the seed. And in that way, our club became President's Distinguished. So we created the desired future by daily working on what needed to be done with a plan, with a mentorship, so that we can become the future that we desired, which is a President's Distinguished Club. So basically, that's, if we talk about framework, that's the framework that quickly enters my mind. It's what, know the seed, sow the seed, and finally grow the seed in the hearts and minds of your listeners. Back to you, Ms. Panel Moderator.
Thank you so much for that very resonating message. It's seed, sow, and grow. Thank you, TM Julius. May we have our next speaker to answer the question, TM Third. When given the topic during the contest, what exactly went through your head?
During the contest, there were a lot of things that were going in my head. The one thing is one of the 7 habits to begin with an end in mind, because somehow that's parallel with the quote that was given. But the really first thing that came into my mind was my experience with the family when my father died. And as much as possible, I really didn't want to talk about it because I would get emotional. But then again, that's the first thing that came into my head. So I would have to acknowledge it and talk about it. In that way, there wouldn't be any other thoughts that I would be able to entertain. And I think I was successful enough in giving the message and with composing myself. And I think that's enough reason that I got the judge's nod. Back to you, Jara.
Thank you so much, speakers. On to the next question. We have here from TM Lindri. This is the question for all our speakers. When you utter your first word at Table Topics, do you have your entire speech figured out? Can we start with Toastmaster Julius, please?
Yeah, that's a very beautiful and powerful question. The answer is no. That's why, if you can recall in my presentation earlier, on the slide on growing your seed, there was a picture of a flower with a stethoscope. As explained, as we grow, as you grow your talking point, you are continuously using the stethoscope to diagnose whether what you are saying is still coherent with a talking point or with a question. And with that, the answer is no. At the start, I do not yet have my full story, but I already have in mind the key points, what I would want to drive. And it is through the process of the flower and the stethoscope that this continuous cycle executes itself, so that as I proceed, I am able to develop my talking point without losing coherence and without losing relevance to the talking point or the question. So my answer is no, but you develop your speech as you go along through the grow and the use of the stethoscope in my slide. Back to you, Ms. Panel Moderator.
Thank you so much, TM Julius. On to the next speaker to answer the same question. We have TM Third. When you utter your first word at table topics, do you have your entire speech figured out?
No. um, but what I'm okay. My problem really in table topics is that I really don't know how to end it with a bang, because I only have a short time to prepare on how to end it. But I was taught to really focus on the message, because once you have the core message in your speech, which is your definition of what the quote is, then you would know if your answer is already within that message or if you have gotten astray of that message. So along the way, I was able to identify and think of what my conclusion would be, but still right at the time when I gave the first word, I really didn't know how to end it. So I wasn't able to figure it out completely.
Okay, thank you for that, TM Third. Maybe proceed to DTM Elisa Tay. When you utter your first word at table topics, do you have your entire speech figured out?
Yes. Yes, I agree with Julius. And third, no, I have not figured out how I will proceed with the speech. I usually come up with a story. I always think of a story and then start it off with a story and develop as I go along. And along in the process of delivering the speech, your mind will also have to try to come up, as what Third said, to try to come up with a powerful conclusion. So this is where practice would come in. This is where constant practice would come in, because then we are able to slow down our breathing and start thinking and not panic. Because when we start to panic and we are not able to get over that hump of being in a panic, we will not be able to conclude the speech. So no, I have not organized my speech. I just come up with a story and then run with it. And then along the way, hopefully I get a very strong conclusion. So,
Thank you for that answer, DTM Elisa. It's a yes and no for our speakers. On to the next question in relation to that. How or what makes a winning table topic speech? Can we please start with you, TM Third?
What makes a winning table topic speech? I think it's clarity of message, really. If you're able to convey your message clearly to the audience and that you speak with sincerity, then you'll be able to touch people's hearts, and that will make you win for me.
Okay, thank you. Can we proceed to Toastmaster Elisa? What makes a winning table topic speech?
for me, it's the message that we are able to deliver. So it's always a strong conclusion, strong messaging. The story is just a very small part. It's an anchor for which we develop the speech. And then the message that we can extract from that story makes it possible for us to touch the audience. So it's the messaging, it's the message and the gain that I will get from, let's say, the speaker. That for me will make a winning speech.
Yes, thank you so much. It's the message and the gain. Thank you, TM Elisa. With that, let's move on to TM Julius. What makes a winning table topic speech?
For me, it's back to basics. Consistency with the fundamentals. Listen, think, speak. It is when you are faithful to that process and you make the most out of it that you're able to extract a most profound idea and message. that will resonate with the listeners, that will connect with the listeners. Because as John Maxwell would say, everybody communicates, but only a few connect. It's possible that you're talking, but you're not connecting. So the important thing is, after you have gone through the LTS process, and that's step number 1, you are able to connect with the audience. And not just that, it is when your message is able to add value to the listener. It is when your message is able to plant a seed that transforms the listener that I would say that you have really delivered an excellent table topics piece. So more than the trophies, more than the titles, it is when your message adds value to other people and transforms them that you can say that you are really a winner. Back to you, this panel moderator.
Thank you so much for that. We communicate to connect and add value. Thank you so much, TM Julius. For our last question, can you please accommodate one more, please? We have a question from TM Isael. What is your personal mantra in life or in winning? May we have, please, Toastmaster third, and then Toastmaster Elisa, and then Toastmaster Julius. Toastmaster third, what is your personal mantra?
The personal mantra is really to live with your core values as a person. And for me, those are integrity, excellence, and passion. So if you have those core values with you, they would anchor you on wherever you go. And when you are faced in compromising situations, then you would have to touch base with those values and you will never go wrong. So know what your values are and stick with them.
Yes. Know your values and stick with them. Thank you for that. May we proceed with the answer of TM Elisa?
I would say if I am able to touch somebody, I am able to motivate somebody, and I am able to inspire somebody with what I share, then that would be the best part of anything that we speak in front. Whatever speech we deliver, whatever thing that would transpire, if we are not able to touch somebody, we have not, for me, I have not achieved the objective of the speech. So I would like to be able to share stories and in the process contribute to inspiring a person, motivating a person, and touching the lives of people that I have shared my speech with. So back to you, Jara.
Yes, the mantra of TM Elisa is to motivate and inspire. Thank you for that answer. Can we proceed with TM Julius? What is your personal mantra?
It is not the years in your life that matter, but it is the life in your years. This is my personal mantra, and I love this quote because we can live to 100 years old, but if there is no life to every year that we live, then we would have not made a positive impact in this world. And I would like to follow through that with the answer to the question, so how do you make the most of your life? How do you add life to your years? I would say 3 key points to borrow John Maxwell's point. First, know your life's purpose. Second, grow to reach your maximum potential. And third, and I think the most important one, sow seeds that benefit others. Because in this world, we live not just for ourselves, we live for others. And it is only when we add value to other people that we can really experience the meaning and the fullness of life. Once again, it is not the years in your life, but the life in your years that matter. Back to you, Jara.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very, very well said, speakers. In the interest of time, so we have a lot of questions and I may have missed some messages, but would anyone like to ask a few more questions? Okay. So in the interest of time, let's proceed. That's it for our panel discussion today. I will wrap up with resonating the powerful quotes from DTM Elisa earlier. All of us can hear, but are we listening? And as shared by Toastmaster Julius, every message can sow a seed, and this message can transform in varying degrees. And with that, I would like to thank our audience for all your questions, and thank you, speakers, for sharing your stories, your tips and tricks with all of us today. Hoping we all could apply all the messages we heard from our speakers provided us today. I will now pass it back to you, Toastmaster Jonas. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause to our speakers and of course to our panel moderator? Thank you so much for being so cool. You know, the people can ask questions because you are so cool, and I think that's the best way to attack the Q&A question, and that's just powerful. We really admire you. And now, okay, we will proceed to our table topic session. A while ago, we have volunteers. I don't know if they were forced, but I have the list of names we're in. They will deliver a speech, and our winners, our champions, they will give their feedback in order for that speech to become, better. And of course, one day maybe they will become also the next champion. May I call on our first speaker? I hope that you are ready. Our DTM Nona, are you there? Can we hear from you before I give the question? DTM. Can you say hi? Yeah, you're there. Are you
Hi.
ready?
Yeah.
Definitely. Here's your question. I'll read it twice. Question number 1 is this. A champion is afraid of losing. Everyone else is afraid of winning. From Billie Jean King, a champion is afraid of losing. Everyone else is afraid of winning. Your time to shine.
I came from a musician family. My father is a great musician, and all of my siblings, all of my relatives are champions in singing contests, in all the programs. But I myself, I don't know why I am afraid of trying to use musical instruments or trying to grab the mic when I was still young, because all of them do their practice, do their singing, do their banding at home where I am there. I was just watching. I am afraid to grab and to take the challenge to use the instrument, the guitar, the piano, because my father is a great musician and he was teaching in a school wherein he is a bandmaster. So I really wanted to do what they are doing, but I can't do it until now. So my father died, and I was asking myself, what is your message to me? Maybe it would be on my children or my grandchildren that will inherit that kind of music inclined or best in music or know all the instruments. But when we have a party, they will tell me, okay, Ate Nona, just sing or just dance because that's the way you are. And we will just accompany whatever you are doing. And then we will teach you how to do it. You have to sing, and your voice should be in a curl. So something like that with a culot. I don't know what does it mean. So maybe I tried hosting the party with our family, and I am very well known for that. So even though I was not given the talent to sing, I know I can do something that would became for me as a champion in any field that I really wanted to be. So back to you, table topics master.
Thank you so much. That's powerful. Amazing. And now, yes, I know that you are excited. Can we request our champions? Okay. You see, our most of the questions are related to being champion because our guests, they are champion in the table topic. So I'll start with DTM third. Can you please give your comments or feedback or any suggestions?
Okay. I could sense that Nona used the story message king pattern, and with this is really the most convenient patterns that we use, especially if we really want to inspire people. Because as they say, facts tell, but stories sell, and it is in your personal story wherein you could add originality to your speech, and that is really a good thing, a good tool for you, Nona, to use your personal story. What I could suggest for you is to really make your struggle part, because I think that your struggle part was about you being totally different from your musician family members. And in that way, there is enough part for you to talk about the success on how you could really develop what the message, what your interpretation of this quote is. Because again, in Toastmasters, there are really no right or wrong answers, but then again, there are answers that are somehow being able to hit the topic bullseye or miss it. And I was really thinking what your answer, what your interpretation of the quote is. Was it trying to be something or embracing your being different from the rest? And that towards the end of your speech, that still left me in question what your point really was. So I think right from the start of your speech, identify already what your point is. What message should you want us to tell? And then echo that message all throughout your speech. In that way, there is a reverberating effect to it. When you're, because in an SMG pattern, story is important because that is where you'll be establishing your point. As one of the world champion speakers said, I can't remember his name,
Miller.
Lance Miller, yes. Yes. He said that when you use a story in a speech, there are some elements that you need to be present. First is the setup. Who are your characters? When did it happen? And then the struggle, what was the conflict of your story? And then after the conflict, then enters a hero that will tell you what the message is. And I think it was one of your members who said that. And then after you were able to have that hero, then your resolution to the story, to your conflict. And what message have you learned from that story? After that, the game part is what can you tell the audience in order for them to make a change or take a stand towards the end of your speech? And if you have your message clear right from the start, then you wouldn't find it difficult to establish your story and then go with a call to action at the end.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I love that. That's powerful about clarity of message and of course using an amazing story in order for you to convey the message. And how about TM Julius, our another champion? Can you give your feedback?
I would like to use the sandwich approach in giving my feedback to TM Nonalyn. So first, for the good points, I love it that TM Nona used her story because her story is unique, and that is what will hook the audience because no other person in this world can narrate that story exactly the way TM Nona did. So I love that. Second is, it was answered with delight. As TM Nona was sharing her story, she was smiling because in the process, she was recalling this unique experience from her life. So I would like to commend you for those 2 points, TM Nona. Now let me go to the points which you can improve on to take your delivery of the table topics talking point to the next higher level. I think this is very important. You can actually disagree with the talking point. What am I saying? If you read the question here, a champion is afraid of losing. Everyone else is afraid of winning. But most of the leadership gurus and motivational speakers would say, do not be afraid to fail, because in failing, you learn your lessons, which will take you to the next higher level. So if this question was given to me, I would say, this is a nice quote, but I would beg to disagree with this talking point. Because a champion is never afraid of losing. Because it is in the losing, these small pockets of losing, that a champion learns his lesson and becomes a better version of himself once he learns from those failures or mistakes. John Maxwell had a good book, Failing Forward. If you fail, fail fast, fail forward by learning from your failures. The great Michael Jordan, the team lead of the Chicago Bulls, missed 40,000 shots in his career. But it is because he missed the shots that he learned the lessons, and that made him a great leader, a great champion. So, for me, a champion is not afraid of losing, because a real champion knows that in mistakes, in failures, he will learn lessons that will make him indeed a big champion, a true champion, a genuine champion in his lifetime. So I would answer it that way. I will disagree, and I will prove my point. I will share an example. Back to you, TMD Jonas.
That's powerful. I'm thinking like I'm watching the second round of table topic competition. I think that's so powerful, the example that you've given us. And yeah, the best thing is, having the chance to disagree. I have not known that before. Well, I thought I'd just hear a story and a point. But yeah, the first part of the question is something that it has some issues, I think. Okay, are you, I think, also excited, our DTM Nonalyn, for the last feedback from our champion, of course, DTM Elisa Tay. We want to hear from you.
Can I say same as the above?
Powerful.
Toastmaster Nona, I love the storytelling. For me, it's something that I love to do. But we can also, I felt that the story went on throughout the entire speech. One thing I learned with listening to world champions and to those who are mentors doing this is we can break it up. We can break it up. Like, for example, you have a story point. Maybe you could have started with the struggle. I'm the only one in the family who does not play a musical instrument. And break it up. Why? What happened? Then share your story. Maybe there was something that bothered you about going into music, or picking up a musical instrument. Then get to another point wherein you have a lesson that you gain from that story, from that particular segment of the story. So it's possible that you can break up that story because you have one singular story about you're not being musically inclined, but then you could break up that story and input your points along the way. So it will not just be an entire 2 minutes of storytelling and then a short line at the end for your message towards your conclusion. So it's possible that we can attack it in different ways. One was what Julius said, you can disagree. One, you can run with that story, but break it up into smaller parts. Highlight the most critical part of that story. Maybe something that what incident happened that maybe prevented you from picking up a musical instrument. And then from there, you break up your stories, and each segment come up with a message. So back to our Toastmaster.
Perfect. Thank you so much. DTM Elisa, the last time I heard the word break it up, it's painful. But right now, I'm happy. Yes, I'm learning a lot of things. I know everyone, they are excited to volunteer the next time they will have their Toastmaster session. I know that a lot would want to grab that table topic session because of the things that they are learning today. Thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause to DTM Nona for that courage and, for the opportunity to share your story. Next, number 2, can I call on another DTM? DTM Malu, are you ready? Can we hear from you? Mic test, please.
I'm here.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, great. The next question is for you. Question number 2. Winning is the most important thing in my life after breathing. Breathing first, winning next. Winning is the most important thing in my life after breathing. Breathing first, winning next.
Good morning. Winning is not the most important thing for me. It is not the goal in my life. The journey to living it to the full and to make things happen is what is next to breathing. I am a mother of 4 and a Lola of 4. I got married at an early age of 18, but I can say that I am winning in this life because despite the fact that marriage came in first prior to the diploma, I still went through studying. I am a civil engineer by profession, but I got my license with my family already. And that's not the end. So I journeyed with my family, and now I am picking up the pieces of what I earned in this life. Winning is just the end, but the journey going through it is what matters. Toastmaster is one example, and being the best of how we can live in this life is the most important thing to breathing. Always remember that it's not the years in our life that matters. It is the life in our lives that will tell us who we are. Back to you, Toastmaster Jonas.
Yeah, I'm hooked already. Thank you so much for that. Can you give a round of applause one more time? I want to hear from DTM third now.
Why do I always come in first?
According to the color of...
All right, Toastmaster Malu, I really love it when you open your speech by saying a strong line. I disagree with the quotation because winning for you is not everything. It is about living life to the full. And you were able to support with your story about you marrying early and that you were able to get to the end point of it that winning is just it's just the end, it's just the output, but it's living in your life that is really essential. What I would like you to work on is I think to really, how do you call that, be conscious of the words that you are saying, because you said that winning is not everything, yet in your story you said, when I married, it was already winning in my life this early. So there were some inconsistencies with your response that really made me think that perhaps you were not able to support your stand strongly. So that's the only suggestion that I could give. Otherwise, you were able to end your answer in a very strong manner by going a level higher by saying that it's not the years in our life that matters, but the life in the years that we have added. So congratulations and thank you, Toastmaster Malu.
Deeply appreciated, DTM third, if I'm calling you first, because I want to hear from you first. Okay, thank you for that advice. One word, inconsistencies. And I think all of us should be sensitive and be very careful with regard to our thoughts. How about TM Julius? Can we hear from you, your feedback or any suggestions, please?
Once again, I will go with the sandwich approach. What I like about the way TM, was it TM Lourdes, if I got it correctly, delivered her talking point is that after the quote, she immediately made her point, as mentioned by TM third. That's number one. Number two, the example given. It's concise, it's brief, it's straightforward. And I would like to draw out this very important point in table topics. Less is more. Once again, less is more. When I was still starting with Toastmasters last 2017, my tendency when delivering, expounding on a talking point was to pack in many examples in order to drive home my point. But what I learned from my mentor, DTM Ryan in Cabo, is that when you pack in many examples and many stories, you lose the coherence, you lose the interest of the audience because everything becomes convoluted. So I like the way that TM Lourdes just extracted one example to support her point because again, in table topics, less is more. What I would recommend as a way of improving the delivery are as follows. First, we all know that winning is relative. Winning for TM Lourdes, her definition of winning might be different from my definition. It may be different from the definition of TM third and DTM Elisa. So actually, another tip, you can actually start your table topics piece exposition by also asking a question. You can go this way. Friends, fellow Toastmasters, what is your definition of winning? For me, winning is not so much about the titles and the trophies. It is about overcoming myself, conquering myself, and realizing my potential so that my life will make a positive impact to others. And if I have made the world a better place to live in because of what I am, because of who I am and what I did, then that for me is winning. Then I will now cite an example coming from my own personal story. Okay? And I will end again with a point. I will close the loop by saying, so friends, fellow Toastmasters, take time to reflect what is your definition of winning. Doing so, you come to get to know yourself better and you can add value to other people, making this world a better place to live in. Friends, fellow Toastmasters, let's win. But let's win by adding value to other people. Back to you, TMD Jonas.
Jonas, you're on mute.
Okay, thank you so much for noticing that. What I learned from TM Julius is that asking a powerful question, we can start also using that while we are still organizing our thoughts. And thank you so much for that. How about DTM Elisa? I'm excited for your comment.
Toastmaster Malu, I wish you hadn't said I disagree with the quotation. Because I felt the way you told your story about your life, about putting value into your family, was the breathing part. And along the way, you gained a lot. You have 4 children, you have 4 grandchildren. That would be the winning part that comes after living your life to the fullest. So I felt you attacked the quotation from the opposite direction. Your life by itself, the intensity that you put into living your life was breathing. Breathing, breathing, breathing. That means we could live our life. And the winning part was the family that you have, the success that you've had in your job. I remember Toastmaster Balu hesitated becoming division governor at that time. But after much convincing, she ended up the term with President's Distinguished. So you are winning. living life as it comes along, giving your fullest, you are already breathing and you are winning. So sometimes the speech was perfect. I love the way you gave your story, the example, and the way you develop it, and the very strong conclusion that you have. I just take issue with the first line wherein you said, I disagree. Because then it was a negative aspect, the negative on the reaction. I felt it would have been better if you said, my life has always been a journey and it has always been, my life has always been a journey and breathing is part and parcel of it, and winning is the icing that I have from my family. So those are just a very, very few minor things because I love the way you gave your story, the way you develop it, and the conclusion that you gave us. Very powerful. So back to our Toastmaster of the day, Jonas.
Thank you so much for that. Another powerful review. We need to be, sensitive with the words that we use, especially during our opening. I love that. And due to our time constraint, I want to call our third speaker. Can I hear from? Thank you so much, DTM Malu, for that. How about Christian? Are you there? Can we hear from you? Yeah,
Yes.
Christian is here. Okay. Yes. Are you ready? This is your question. True champion wasn't born but trained. True champion wasn't born but trained.
In July 2017, I've suffered with depression. I had doubt to myself. I commit suicide, and I had insecurities in my life. But I'm not a perfect person. Through my experiences, I would say I've learned a lot, and I would say I am a champion in my life because I have a lot of experiences, so that I will be a good example to other people. So to my fellow Toastmasters, I believe that we are not perfect, but through our mistakes, we learn to be better. Thank you.
That's powerful. Thank you so much for having the. By the way, Christian is our guest. And I believe that soon he will be joining Toastmasters International. And you will hear from our champions. I want to start with TM Julius. We want to hear from you. Yes, because I yes, the TM third. TM Julius.
TM Jonas, are you sure it's that TM third will be the first? Okay.
I was threatened by a friend.
Okay.
Just kidding.
All right, okay.
TM Julius.
Okay. What I like about the way that TM Derek, our future Toastmaster Derek, delivered his speech
Christian,
was
I'm
that,
sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, Christian.
Christian, yeah.
Christian.
Yeah.
And
Thank
delivered
you.
his speech was that first, he immediately got into his story. In hindsight, he used the story message game. So he was direct to the point, used his story, and then he circled back to reinforce the talking point that true champion wasn't born by sharing his personal battle against depression. So he used his depression story to reinforce his point that indeed true champions wasn't born but trained. And I think the key insight that he shared was that it was through that process, that grueling process of depression, that he became stronger within in his strength of character. And that is what made him a true champion. Not because he was born, but because he was trained by the adversities of life through his depression. So that's how I got the message of the brave soul. And I would like to commend him for that. Being straightforward, again, less is more. He just cited one example and stuck to it to reinforce his point. Straightforward, less is more, and it really packed a powerful punch. What I would recommend as a way of taking his delivery to the next higher level is start with a bang, end with a bang. So how do you end with a bang? As shared in my slides earlier, you end with a bang by circling back to your point, number one. Number two, by ending with a call to action or a point to ponder. I would prefer call to action because it is something that the audience will have to think about after the piece is delivered. So that would be my recommendation. Number two, he can actually add humor in it. What do I mean? If we read the quote, true champion wasn't born, but trained. So how did a champion enter this world? For sure, he was born, right? But what this quote is saying is that champions are not made in the ring. They are only recognized there. It is in the daily, mundane, everyday preparation that the champions are made. They're only recognized in the ring. So in the same token, a champion is not born, but it is because he was trained, because he practiced, because he kept on keeping on. He was persistent, he was relentless, that eventually, after being born, he progressed to being a champion. So you can add humor to your talking point in order to drive home your point. Back to you, TMD Jonas.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I learned another thing is that adding humor, because I'm not humorous. I'm actually shy type of person. Next, I want to hear from DTM Elisa. My finale is DTM third.
Great. Christian, I love the way you answered right away. Oftentimes, the drawback for those who are answering to table topics is the fear of sharing something deeply close to us, something that would come out that we might share accidentally. And the way you said it straightforward, the way that you suffered from depression years before, and that was very powerful because you got all of us listening right away and you got all of us interested in following your story. If I can give a suggestion as to how you can maybe improve on your reaction would be maybe because you said you were able to get over this depression. So maybe what steps did you take to turn you into a champion? What process did you go through? Were there people who helped you along the way? Did you do it on your own? And what worked and what did not work before you became a champion? So just a few inputs would have enhanced the speech and have lengthened the reaction that you gave us. So other than that, I love the way that you dove straight into your introduction, and that was a powerful conclusion. A powerful conclusion. So congratulations, Christian. I hope you join a Toastmasters Club soon. Toastmaster John.
Yes, I believe that he will be joining soon. He will have a lot of opportunities in our table topic session. We're excited to have you, Christian. TM Christian. By the way, I noticed a while ago that you said fellow Toastmasters, which means you are declaring that you are a Toastmaster now, and we can never deny that. We will not, we will accept that, that you are now part of this family. See you soon. And our finale, of course, to give his feedback before we end this whole session. DTM third, we're excited to hear you.
Future Toastmaster Christian, thank you very much for disrobing yourself in front of strangers through your vulnerability about one stage in your life. And I must say that it takes courage for one to disrobe himself and really tell the people of something sensitive of your personal life. Talking about depression and suicide is really very sensitive, and a lot of us here can relate, including me. And that really made an instant connection with you as a speaker. You were able to touch our hearts. Thank you for sharing that. And also congratulations for championing through life because of that experience. I also love it because you were able to close your speech via a call to action that through our mistakes, we need to be better. What I would like to suggest for you is to tie back to the quote that was given about true champions aren't born, but they are trained. So somehow touch base on that quote in that way. we can make sure that you are still in line with the quote given. Also, I would suggest that you would open your speech with a bang. Perhaps you can say that I wasn't born as a champion, but I know that I will not die. But I know that I will die as a champion, but I will not die now. Because way back in July 2017, when depression hit me, I almost committed suicide. But I decided to still continue with my life. In that way, you would start your speech with a bang, and that would capture the attention from the audience. Also, like what Elisa said, I would like to answer some questions. What circumstances made you champion it? What motivations did you face? Who helped you? Who trained you to champion through life? In that way, you will be able to fully hit the topic. And Toastmaster Christian, there's one way for you to become a better and a champion speaker, even in table topics or even in prepared speeches. And there's only one way for you to do it. Join Toastmasters now. So congratulations. Let's give a round of applause to Christian.
Perfect. Thank you so much, DTM30. Yes, thank you for cementing and closing my request, our request to Christian. Christian, we want to see you. Can you show your video and say hi to everyone? Because I think it's closed. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yes, you are now part of this family, whether you like it or not. Nah, just kidding. You are very much welcome. Welcome.
It's
Thank
really
you so
such
much.
an honor for me.
Perfect. Perfect. We want to hear from you soon. And of course, I want to say thank you one more time to our champions from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to TM Julius, DTM Elisa, DTM Third. Thank you so much for your generosity and kindness and for sharing so many tips. It's overflowing and it actually reached until here into Gigarao. So I'm just so happy and grateful. And to everyone who joined us, thank you so much for staying. I know that you learned a lot. I hope that next time you will also be the next champions. And just to end this presentation, I want to just share this. This is my favorite, actually, one of my favorite thoughts. Knowledge is dead without application. And I hope that what we learn today will manifest in our health, in our career, in our work, in our relationship, in the spiritual side, whatever endeavors that we have in our life. I hope that what we learn, the most powerful, amazing things that we learn today will become part of our lives, will become part of our success journey. And that's all. Thank you so much. This is your Toastmaster of the Day, Brother Jonas Dupo from Tugigaraw. And I'm greeting everyone good noon and hope you have a great day.